Wonderful people, let's get straight into it. Okay, I've dedicated an entire channel on the formula to make a success of your life. Why am I talking about this vast, expansive subject? And why do I proclaim to have unearthed some key formulas that are going to help you, the viewer watching this? My friends, I want to share this with you because I've asked myself these questions as a young adult. Let me give you a bit of a background story. Who is this guy with this scarf and this overcoat walking through the park talking to you about success? My friends, I grew up in a naval town. I was one of those people that always went home and he did his homework straight away as soon as I got home from school. I worked hard. I worked in the field of architecture. I made a success of that. I took a step back because one night I was at work late and my manager's wife was phoning him saying, when are you going to come home? We were doing an assembly drawing for some automatic doors on a care home. So an assembly drawing is like an axonometric. It's an angular drawing that shows all the exploded elements. I know, boring, right? I've lost you already, don't worry. It was very boring and it was very hard. I took a step back from that. I made a success in architecture. I realised it wasn't what it cracked up to be. That's when reality started to reveal itself. That's when I saw beyond surface level reality, my friends. I started asking questions, how do people really make a success? Because my friends and I had worked hard, aiming, trying to do it. And we thought, well, why is it we're kind of receiving the same kind of results, the same sort of outcome in life? And we realised the answer was not crypto. The answer was not Forex. The answer was not any of these glamorous, quick get-rich schemes, but the answer was a journey that you went on. And I want to share with you that journey because it's both internal and neurological. Now, I've met some really knowledgeable mentors throughout the years, and I've worked with them, and I've begun to understand neurology and what really leads to success. And I've read a lot of books on this. I've also written a book on it, which I'm not here to promote, From the Future of Intuition by Hugh Gibbs, but I've written a lot of books on this. And the key thing that came about was, firstly, the activation energy is the internal belief system. This gives us the energy, the courage to keep moving forward. Everything in life is energy, and everything is formed through energy. You see, energy mixed with emotion is a really powerful tool because that leads to action. And it's said in the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, the actions that have the most powerful outcome are the actions mixed with emotion. They have the most long-lasting, memorable effect, but they also carry with them a certain power, a certain energy, so it becomes about the emotions. In this book, Napoleon Hill talks about the positive emotions: faith, love, belief, courage. And he talks about the negative emotions: guilt, shame, lack, if lack is an emotion. And he talks about how human beings are naturally predisposed to be concerned, to consider all possible outcomes. For example, if you're in Australia, you're putting on your shoes one morning, you're checking in your shoes that there's not a tarantula, there's not a snake. That doesn't mean that person's being negative. It just means they have that awareness. It's the survival instinct to be aware of danger. Now, it's true, we're not living in a world today where we're having to outrun saber-toothed tigers in between doing 100 deadlifts or whatever it is we're doing to change the world. But we are wired that way, so we need to become aware of that so that then we can understand that it's just a pattern and not be ruled by it. You see, the human mind will naturally, voluntarily think about these possible outcomes and these concerns. However, when it comes to positive outcomes, sometimes we need to auto-suggest them. We need to put those into our consciousness and then in turn our subconsciousness. So we need to remind ourselves that we need to make an intention to think about the outcome we desire. So that was door number one, realizing. I remember hearing about that through different songs in 2006, and there were different slogans. They were selling pillows and blankets with the writing about thinking positive. So, okay, that was the basic slogan. So that's like, oh, here's the front cover of the book. Now what does it mean? Okay, so you think positive, that's brilliant. Wow, this video is going to be a long one. But if you stick with me, this is all you're ever going to need to read to understand the basics. So, Positivity, belief, fine, great. Then it goes into resonance, it goes into our vibration. Okay, that's the law of attraction. Law of attraction, however, is something that the elites have just shared as kind of like a cover-up story. They want you to think about laws of attraction because it would be easy if people were just lying there doing yoga, meditating, envisioning, imagining, and then not taking action, because yes, it makes us feel really good, but law of attraction without law of action is just going to lead to stagnation and the same thing. It won't ever change. And once again, I'm getting a cough because I'm in the park and I'm having hay fever because I'm not used to the pollen in France. Yay! But let me get to the point. There's no time to edit these videos, guys. I can't do another one. I'm not going to be able to get the same point across. Law of action. Fine, so we realise we've got to take action. Just as powerful as that, law of assumption. In a video recently, I spoke about how is it that people wake up every day just knowing that everything's going to work out. It's their belief system, it's their assumption. If we go into a situation just assuming it's going to work, we'll probably be more inclined to have an experience where it does work out. Now, if it doesn't work out, fine, okay, didn't work out, but at least we aimed for the highest point. Okay, law of assumption. Oh my God, I'm really choking up with this pollen. It's actually quite crazy. I looked on the weather app and it said that it was like severe, but I can't stop living my life. Anyway, so law of assumption, great. So we just assume it's going to work out, fantastic, and we lead with that. But even more important than that is our inner belief system and getting into what is going on a neurological level. And this is when this kind of stuff can't really be taught. And I'm sharing this with a pinch of salt. I'm not proclaiming to have all the answers, but the thing is, there isn't a one-size-fits-all formula, but it's about putting yourself in an environment that is going to be supportive. I once asked my friend this question years back: what would happen if we were put in an environment where we had everything we need to succeed? Kind of like an athlete. You know how an athlete has all the right team around them, a nutritionist, you know, maybe a psychologist, a physiotherapist, a motivational coach, and an A&R manager or whoever they need, PR managers, PA, absolutely everything they need. See, when you have everything you need, you're essentially like a flower in the most healthy, nutritious environment that's having a chance to grow. Life isn't always panned out like that. Again, I'll go back to the beginning of this video. Who am I? I grew up in a naval town, a town that wasn't always incredibly supportive, a town that was actually very challenging to grow up around, a very peculiar place to grow up. The kind of place where people just judge you for what you're wearing. Anything at all, they'll just say, oh, I don't like those socks you're wearing. Well, I didn't ask you, I'm just on my way to the supermarket. You know, these weird places we grow up. Alicia Keys wrote a song, she said, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But the lyrics are not correct. It's actually, if you can make it in this town, this particular town me and my friends grew up in, then you can make it anywhere. I won't mention what town it is, but the people know what I'm talking about. Very weird place. But what was so fascinating is that when me and my friends got to the top of that and we started realizing, oh wow, so all this time we overcame the external, so it didn't stop us. Oh man, a magnificent feeling. That built some resilience. Okay, so the external doesn't affect me. Fantastic, good. So that's the first thing achieved. Now, how can we get the internal